as a consortium project director rather, of one of the first variable speed pump storage projects in India, which was called the Tehri Pumped Storage Project, which again, for me, huge amount of support from the leadership. They believed in me. There was a big amount of trust that was there for them, and then doing something which was more than 300 million euros of a project in India, leading a consortium with a civil partner, and then two of the companies in India. One was my own company in India, and other was our partner in France. So this was one of the biggest opportunities that I got to lead, which I led for more than 5 years.
Sir, with growing focus on digital transformation and operational excellence, what would you say are the key traits a leader must possess to truly thrive in this ever-evolving industrial landscape? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of FaceTime with Leaders by Directors Institute World Council of Directors. Today, we're diving into the world of strategic leadership, project execution, and operational excellence with none other than Mr. Ajay J Kalra. With over 32 years of experience, Mr. Kalra has led high-impact projects across power, infrastructure, and transportation sectors. From driving hydro business transformations at GE Power India to overseeing complex operations as the CEO at ICPL, his journey is one of precision, growth, and innovation.
So thank you very much, Tanay, for the connect and the warm welcome.
So, coming to our first question, which is a request if you could take us through your journey. So, like, how did you first get started? What have been some of the key milestones or turning points that have shaped your path over the years? We're all ears to hear the story behind the success, sir.
So thanks for asking that question. Yes, I'm also eager to run down the memory lane. So it all started way back in 1992 when I joined an Indian company in Baroda, and it was into the R&D. Slowly, as you are into the industry, you start figuring out, that what is your strength, what is that you should figure out a way forward in your career. And soon I realized that I should be much more an extrovert than an introvert, being in the R&D and all that. So moved on and went into the sales part, and then after that entered into an Indian multinational where I was given a lot of exposure, talking about project management, the marketing part, the sales part, and stuff like that, which gave me a huge amount of confidence of doing well in the industry. Having said that, I did a leap of faith. For me, that was one of the turning points, which was pivotal for me primarily because I took a very big risk in my life and moved into a global multinational called Alstom, and there I started my career in a way afresh, talking about doing the cost estimation, the technical tendering, and stuff like that. But that was a clear organic growth for me. It went on from slowly tendering for smaller projects to bigger projects and taking the entire balance of plant, the turbines, the generators, and stuff like that. And slowly I was leading the tendering team. And after I was entrusted with the huge responsibility of leading as a consortium project director rather, of one of the first variable speed pump storage projects in India, which was called the Tehri Pumped Storage Project, which again, for me, huge amount of support from the leadership. They believed in me. There was a big amount of trust that was there for them, and then doing something which was more than 300 million euros of a project in India, leading a consortium with a civil partner, and then two of the companies in India. One was my own company in India, and other was our partner in France. So this was one of the biggest opportunities that I got to lead, which I led for more than 5 years. And after, because it was an organic growth, they entrusted me with responsibility of leading the entire organization as a business head of Hydro India, the GE Hydro India business head. So which was another feather in the cap for me. Important thing was, even when I talk about when I became the business head, the challenges were quite a few, and we can talk about it in detail again further. But then important was that we deliver what was being what has been the challenge for the organization. And for one of the years, I was nominated as and awarded for that matter. Why nominated? I was awarded as run it like you own it. There was a specific award for that. So I was awarded with that. So I'm happy to to deliver such kind of challenges, and that's what has been the journey. After that, I moved into transport. That was totally different sector as a site managing director, which was there for 2 years. And thereafter, I took this challenge of transforming this present company, which is ICPL, Indian Conveyors Private Limited. And I'm transforming this. There has been a turnaround and already in the good direction. Thank you.
Lovely, sir. I think one very nice thing which you said was initially when you went in somewhere, you felt that you were made for something else. You quietly made the switch, which is very important for young leaders today to understand that if they feel they're meant for something else early in their career, I think that switch is possible, where they can look at what interests them and go that side and make a stellar career like you have. That's something I think
Absolutely.
viewers can learn from this.
Absolutely.
Sir, with such an impactful career, I'm sure there were moments that tested your resilience. Looking back at your time leading hydro business transformations and major power infrastructure projects, what were some of the most challenging moments you faced and how did you navigate through them?
I think the challenges as a leader. I believe that every individual has to see himself or herself as a leader. So people have to ensure that they live up to what is being asked for on the leadership role that they have. In their own right, in their own way, they are the leaders, right? Now, from that perspective, when we look at each and every individual who has any challenges in there, and if they are ready to face the challenges, take it forward and have the guts to take it forward, is where I think the leadership comes over the normal, and it's like above and beyond. So when I narrate my stories, I would like to mention maybe two projects which have been pretty two, let's say, turning points also of my life. I just mentioned a few, but then what's important is these are the two projects where it actually really called for my leadership to be coming to the fore. So first one was the Tehri Pumped Storage Project. As I said, this was a project I was in the tendering, as I mentioned earlier, and this was a project which went on for 3 years in the making. Lots of tenders, bid, then there were snap bids, and it went eventually to the Supreme Court before we backed the order. And so it was from 2009 to 2012 is when we backed the order, and thereafter I was switched over to project management as a consortium project director. Now, it was a complex project with civil also involved, and the electromechanical part also involved. So a big challenge was customer was not happy because we had gone to the Supreme Court and blah, 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 blah. So the start was not so great, but then we got to turn it around. That was our biggest challenge. We formed a fantastic team. I can tell you the people who were there with us were very good collaboration within the team. We took a lot of initiatives. We anticipated a lot. We put across our people at site. We put across the engineering team there. We understood what the customer requirement. Initially, there was a lot of to and fro, and because the relations had not been built over a period of time. Obviously, they realized that we were meaning what we were doing, and we wanted to also be coming on board. So it went good. After some time, there was a situation where they were at fault in quite a few things, and at that point in time, we did not go back. We supported them to come out of those things, which actually developed a huge amount of trust with them. So that was again another turning point for that particular project per se. So with all the support that we were getting, we had roles and responsibility clear to everyone. The structure was clear. People knew very well. The decisions were very, very tough at times. But then we took those decisions, and over a period of 2.5, 3 years, the net margin, which we had -4% when we took the order, we were at +4% in 3 years' time. For a $320 million project, that amount is substantive. And now I know it went on further positive. So it's a great, let's say, turnaround, which was for me an achievement. The The other part which you could mention is on the hydro transformation. I would be unfair if I don't mention on the hydro transformation piece. So hydro as a business that we were looking at had a business about $1 billion, and India's contribution was about 120 to 130 million dollars. But the challenge was that the bottom line from India was negative. We were doing around 10 odd million dollars of a negative one from India every year, which was a big loss to the organization. So there is a decision taken from the top saying that we got to be closing down few of the units. We will have only the Chinese factory to be working, and rest factories will scale down in a very big way. And we will have only a backup office in India, which for me meant was from 1,100 people that we had to go down to less than 400, which was a big, big ask. Nevertheless, there was a challenge on hand. Work together with the HR team, work together with the industry per se nearby, because you got to be looking at the regions, what is happening in this region, and how you could be managing this with the labor teams and figuring out ways and coming out with one of the best VRS payments that we could have done for the voluntary retirement that we did for people. The scheme that we came was one of the best in the region. So quite a few of the employees appreciated that. But then it called for huge amount of hours that we put in working with them, explaining them that what is the rationale behind the decision that's been taken. It was a question of survival. Okay. And there are people who came on board in the first instance. Then over a period of time, it took me about 15 months odd to reach to the level that we were wanting to reach. And then we again turned it around. We sold off the factory and came back and lived in the same place, in the buildings that we were in, the offices, on a rental basis, which was also very, very strong this thing for us, primarily because it helped us have a good P&L. So for 2 years subsequently, we had a positive P&L than the negative 10 million euros that we had. This was another transformation that I went through. So I just mentioned these two for this question.
Yeah, sir, I think problems come in on all different kinds, and like you said, resilience and teamwork is something that, even in the worst of scenarios, helps you get through them because you can't do much else.
Absolutely.
Sir, it's evident that you've built a strong foundation of resilience and strategic thinking. Now, with such a clear focus on financial and operational excellence, I'm curious, when you're faced with making tough strategic decisions, especially when balancing customer satisfaction, cost control, and execution, how do you approach it? What's your thought process during those critical moments?
Okay, so Tanay, see, the way I see things is when you talk about customer satisfaction, or for that matter, P&L or the balance sheet for that matter, all these are the results. All these are the results of what you do in execution, what kind of an order you get, what kind of cost controls you put in place, what kind of time controls that you put in place. So for me, customer satisfaction is the end result, but then we got to be following the process in a much more stronger way. So I personally take it strictly in the way, as the industry nowadays defines SQDCP. Talk about safety, talk about quality, talk about delivery, talk about cost, and talk about people, in that order. That helps us to understand that we have to be paying a lot of attention for the safety. We have to be paying a lot of attention for the quality. We got to be paying a lot of attention for the delivery. And then comes the cost. And people has been added just recently, right? Now I'll try and maybe cite an example or two which can probably help to deliver the point. Uh, One was when we were doing the Tehri project, which I mentioned. We had one of the first components to be delivered from Europe. That was the ask. And there was this big valve that we were supposed to deliver. There were 4 valves for 4 machines, but one big valve which we were supposed to deliver from Europe. Very costly proposition getting it from Europe. And then there was a big increase in the weights also because of several reasons, which maybe this time may not permit. But yeah, so what we had to do was there was a huge slippage on the cost. So what we worked through with the customer was, instead of making it in Europe, we make it in Brazil, which is relatively a cheaper place to manufacture. Whereas India was cheaper, but then we were supposed to make the balance 3 valves, not the first one as per the contract. So it had to be made from outside. So it was done in Brazil. Now we were to get technology transfer from Brazil to understand how that is getting manufactured. That kind of a big size valve was never manufactured in India. We're talking about 4 meters, and then we are talking about the overall tonnage of about 450 tons, 450 tons. It's a huge single valve. So what we did was we worked with the Brazilian team, came out with a scheme, industrial scheme. We presented a scheme to the customer, approved it, and started to manufacture in Brazil. Did a technology transfer, sending our people there. Thereafter, we manufactured all those valves in our Indian factory. So overall, the entire cost was kept into control, albeit what we, if you go by the risk that we were having was very, very big, because otherwise we would have had a huge slippage on the cost. So this was the mitigation of the risk part of it. So how do you control the cost? On the other hand, when you talk about another example today, in today's my company, the ICPL company, we have one component that we manufacture in-house, which is also readily being manufactured on a lump sum basis, on a huge mass production basis by several companies outside. So we did an analysis of make and buy, and we came out saying that the making is costlier than buying. So we said, okay, we stop this manufacturing, we get it from outside, and then these resources that we have on hand, we could be utilizing to do something better on some other areas. So these are some of the things that are critical decisions that you would take when you are leading teams. And these are things that help you control the costs and also deliver and put your people on the right place.
Yeah. And like you started out very correctly as well, that process over results. If you get the
Absolutely.
process right, the results take their own shape.
Absolutely.
Sir, with growing focus on digital transformation and operational excellence, what would you say are the key traits a leader must possess to truly thrive in this ever evolving industrial landscape?
So I think what we have to be clear is, see, the true north has to be known to people. When I say true north, see, people define the vision, the mission, the goals, everything is defined. The strategy also is defined. The values are also defined. But when you look at the operational excellence part of it, operational excellence in a simple way, we talk about people, we talk about processes, we talk about tools, right? Now, these are the things which on a day-to-day world, we got to be working through. Like, for example, on the people, we obviously need high performing teams, right? When we talk about processes, they have to be strong enough to make sure that people remain on the right direction and everybody is moving towards the strategy defined so that we achieve the vision or the goals in the shorter term, right? Now, there have been times where, the tools are available. For example, if you talk about the implementation of tools like Lean, like Hoshinkanri or Six Sigmas, and there are several problem-solving tools which are available in the world. But when you look at uncertainty, the external environment, we can't figure out, right? We still have to take decisions. Some of the decisions could be, let's say, in a gray zone, but to the extent that we can, 80% of the decisions, if we are taking right, I think we are good to go. But then decisions have to be taken. And there is where data comes in a very good way, So how do you define that with this data, what kind of decisions you take? So all the data that you accumulate bottom up, and then you convert that into some sensible information, which will help you to take decisions which are the right ones. So the process is the same. The top level same remains the same. The bottom up, how people are coming forward to give you and putting the elephants on the table, putting the data on the table, so that you are being helped to take decisions which are right. That's important. What we do in our organization also is that we define KRAs for individuals, which are in line with the company objectives for the year. So the structure is there, the targets are defined, roles and responsibilities are defined, and then you have people having their KRAs. You have to help them achieve those KRAs. Now, when I say KRAs, there are things, there are decisions to be taken at the next level, right? So people have to be saying that you have to empower. You empower your teams, in turn, they empower their teams, and decisions get taken at the lowest level. And I personally believe the decisions which get taken at the lowest level are the best decisions that get taken. So the more you go up, the decision quality deteriorates. So that's the reason, you got to empower people, you got to inspire and motivate to make things happen. And for that matter, when I talk about the present company, the values that I have defined, which we have take forward, are speed, because agility is one of the challenges we have, transparency, and responsibility. So these three, it encompasses within the three, the entire role.
Very well said, sir. And about how everyone at the lowest level, also, if we can call them the lowest level, if they take responsibility, start taking actions, they are the ground people on the ground who know what the issues are.
Absolutely.
Sir, you've accomplished so much throughout your career, and it's clear that you're always looking ahead. So, as you continue to evolve in your leadership journey, what are some of your future aspirations, particularly when it comes to boardroom roles? Like, how do you see your impact expanding in the next phase of your career?
So I like to keep it simple, Tanay. See, at the end of the day, obviously everybody aspires to grow. At this stage of my life, obviously I also aspire to be on the board. Now, obviously there are challenges which are there everywhere. Now, when I look at my philosophy, what we need to do is we should run businesses which are empowered and which are accountable businesses. My role, what comes in, is that how do I support to bring that business to a level where it's in a strong position to give value to its customers and also drive the sustainable performance improvements. That's my philosophy. So even if I'm doing something for 1 year, it doesn't help me. I got to be doing it over a period of time to see that it sustains. And what are the gaps for sustenance? We got to be working towards that. Now, that's the philosophy on which principally I take it forward. Now, when I do that, it's something which uh, calls also for knowledge about each functions. So as I said, I've been through quite a few functions, so I understand that which function is coming out with what and for what reasons they're coming out with. So this helps me to understand things better. Board role, a big part of it is about governance. I have a very strong governance myself, which gets put into place wherever I'm leading. Uh, Important is that yes, I understand the board role, which is more of a let's say fatherly figure role, if I may put it, and understanding that people are going the right direction rather than, so there's a vision which is right and everybody is working toward that, the mission which is right, goals which are right, and everybody works in that direction, and there's a proper governance to evaluate the companies, is what I am also looking forward to join a board and deliver and contribute in a way.
Lovely, sir. I think it'll be a privilege for any board to have you on board.
My pleasure.
Sir, as sustainability and social responsibility become increasingly important, how do you see the role of ESG in shaping the future of businesses? Like, what steps have you taken or plan to take to integrate these principles into your leadership and decision making process?
So yes, see, these are the words which were not there in the earlier phases of my career. So even say, let's say 10 till 10 years back or something, we never used to talk about ESG per se. But what was very prominent, at least, because I come from multinationals, and what was very prominent was we used to be giving a lot of focus on the bedrock. And bedrock used to be the EHS, the employee health and safety, the ethics and compliance, and the quality. Now, this I have it ingrained in me in a way that has to be the bedrock on which whatever you do or whatever operational work you do has to be on this basis. So there's a strong ingraining of this as a bedrock into my scheme of things. Now, beyond that operational part, we're talking about results and everything. And yes, people have been, the companies have been myopic in focusing on the bottom line all the time. And there is where a lot of neglection has been done in the ESG part of it. Uh, so when I look at, let's say, E, for example, the environmental part of it, firstly, we have an environmental management system in place. Okay. So there are aspects which are defined very well by the regulations, by the rules, talking about air, water, noise, even batteries, then talking about hazardous waste. And all of these, including electricity rules and everything, we make sure that we have a monitoring on a monthly basis on the environmental management part, which we have put in place. Now, from the industry that I am in, there are few areas where we can contribute to make sure how do we improve that. One of them is the painting that we do. So we have inculcated a lot of, how do you optimize the usage of paint is one part of work that we are doing. Second is how do we reduce the pollutants going into the atmosphere, either being shot blasting or the painting, which we work towards, and we have come within we have been within the limits. On the other hand, we are also going for new machineries for that matter. Now, new machineries which do not use either the lubricants or they use less power, and they make less noise. And they're advanced machineries which help us to grow also in the career, and the organization. So quite a few things that we have done in the environmental side, and we continue to do so. Social, yes, social is a bit more, let's say, soft, if I may put it, where we talk about inclusion and diversity, which is super important. I come from the multinational background, so this is again ingrained in it. No differentiation between people, fairness being given to people, uh, transparency being maintained. As I said, one of the values that we have in the company is transparency. So transparency is super important, and then people believing being part of that, the entire social strata of the company is what we have to be bringing ourselves to. Last but not the least, we need to be building networks and relationships as far as social part goes, which is where we focus on. And the last part, governance. Yes, as I said, governing everything falls part of my rhythm that I maintain. Apart from the projects that we review the governance on environment, on social, and overall governance of the entire company. As a business reviews, we do it on a periodic basis. So that's how I see the ESG part of it broadly.
Well said, sir. So, joining Directors Institute must have been a significant step in your leadership journey. Could you please share with us how your experience has been so far?
So, Tanay, again, so I did not know about Directors Institute till I got one of the reels that I was going through. Learned about that. Now, I have been on two boards for that matter. Just for your information with you, I was in one of the boards of BHSL, a company of GE, a subsidiary company, which was Bhutan Hydropower Services Limited. And also, I had been subsequently on the board of Bombardier Transportation before the Bombardier company was taken over by Alstom, and it became Alstom Transport. But then company can continue to be available, or let's say legally available for more than a year after even the takeover part. So I was on the board of both these companies, BHSL and Bombardier Transportation. Now I never knew the nuances of the board, to be honest, right? I had been in my earlier roles, like for example, Tehri and hydropower when I was. So I used to be going to the board and presenting as a leader of the business, But I had never known the nuances of why people do it in that particular way they do, company secretary or the roles that chairman does and all that. That's pretty formal. But then you do it, you go through the motions and stuff like that. Now this study under the Director Institute, help me understand that why what gets done and what is critical because of what reasons, So I think I appreciate a lot of the knowledge that I have gained, and I'm hoping that next time I'm on the board, I'm much more knowledgeable to understand the perspectives and ask the right questions, which possibly I have not asked in the earlier roles, and make sure that the interests of the shareholders and the stakeholders are at the forefront. That's how it is.
Lovely, sir. Thank you so much for your kind words. And as we wrap up today's conversation, I'd like to thank you for sharing your journey, your experience, and valuable lessons you've learned along the way. Your perspective on leadership, operational excellence, and ESG will undoubtedly resonate with the audience, sir. So, thank you so much.
Thanks, Tanay, and it was a pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise, sir. To our audience, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of FaceTime with Leaders with Directors Institute. We hope you've taken away some key insights that will help you navigate your own leadership journey. So stay connected with us for more such conversations with thought leaders shaping the future of business. Until next time, please take care and as always, have fun in your journey. Thank you so much.